Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal News, where I bring you all the wacky, weird, creepy, and yes, paranormal news from around the world. Today's episode is going to be a cool one. This has to do with life after death and someone meeting Jesus. Now, this comes from express.co.uk, and the headline is Life After Death. Woman opens up about meeting Jesus in the afterlife. Gave me courage. It was by Sebastian Ketley, and it was published on August 11th, 2020. It says life after death is real, at least according to a woman who is convinced she spoke to Jesus Christ during a near-death scare. The woman, who introduced herself as Linda, claims to have met Jesus Christ just 10 days after giving birth to her second child in 1979. Linda suffered from postnatal complications, including postpartum infections and bleedings that made her collapse. As she drifted from consciousness, she remembers the feeling of flying down a large tunnel at great speed. Many people who went through so-called near-death experiences, or NDEs, have memories of leaving their bodies or flying down tunnels. Many NDE patients also have distinct memories of seeing their deceased relatives or having their lives flash before their eyes. In Linda's case, she claims to have reached a light at the end of a tunnel where she had a life review. She said, "At first, I was afraid of what was happening, so I closed my eyes. When I opened them, I was still in the tunnel, moving faster than before, and someone was with me. I couldn't tell if this person was male or female. His presence felt like both. The figure wore a long white gown and had shoulder-length dark hair. Linda also remembers the figure was tall, slender, and did not speak to her. She said, he didn't speak to me, but his presence gave me courage." There seemed to be others in the tunnel as well. They too were traveling towards the light. I could feel myself picking up speed as I approached the light. It was as if I was compelled to go to it, as if a moth is to a flame. Although she did not think it at the time, Linda would later be convinced the mystery figure was Jesus. She then stepped into the light at the end of the tunnel and was instantly filled with love and happiness. But before she could proceed any further into the light, she was stopped by Jesus. Linda said, "He told me things that I cannot remember now, but he told me that I would remember what we spoke about when the time was right. And then he said that it was not my time to be there and that I needed to return to my family." Linda then remembers being at home where she collapsed as her husband tried to wake her up. And though the story is incredible in its details, many medical experts do not believe such NDEs are genuine cases of a person visiting the afterlife. According to the NHS, near-death experiences often seem mystical, but are not true death. The NHS said a more accepted definition of death is when brainstem death occurs, which is when all neural activity in the deepest brain ceases. While if it is possible to keep the heart functioning using life support systems, a person with brainstem death has permanently lost the potential for consciousness. The existence of an afterlife remains a matter of belief, not scientific proof. And that is from the NHS. And that is the end of this article. Now, there are several things in this article that I would like to talk about really quickly. First of all, this thing from the NHS about the existence of the afterlife being a matter of belief, not scientific proof. That's true in a way that we can't scientifically prove that the afterlife exists. But we can prove that the afterlife exists, if that makes sense, because some of us have seen it. Any of the people that are on paranormal teams that do ghost hunts and stuff like that, they've seen it. They've seen ghosts. They've communicated with ghosts. I myself have seen ghosts. I have communicated with ghosts. I have communicated with demons. I'm on a team that actually helps families who are being attacked by demons. So I have dealt with the afterlife. I also myself have died. Now, I've told this story ad nauseum on the channel on many different videos. I'm not going to get into the story again, except I want to compare a couple things from this article. Now, I did not go through any tunnel of light or anything like that, but I was surrounded by bright light. But there's a couple things here that are kind of similar. First of all, I didn't immediately recognize the person that I encountered as Jesus in the moment either. I didn't know who it was or what it was. It was just, I felt the presence behind me. And it felt like it was a male presence. And I just knew it was a male presence somehow. I don't know how. I just knew it. And I felt it behind me, but I could never actually turn to look at it. So I never got to see who it was. But I felt the presence, if that makes sense. Another thing, she talks about being filled with happiness and love. I also experienced that. I told that in the story where I was filled with the greatest happiness and the greatest love I've ever felt in my life. And I didn't want to go back. I didn't want to leave because it was overwhelmingly amazing and beautiful, and I didn't want to leave that moment. So that is similar with this lady's story as well. In my case, I was also told that it was not my time to be there and that I had to go back. Now, I didn't take it as well as old Linda here did. I got very upset and I screamed and hollered and fought and raged and cussed and begged and pleaded and did everything I could to try to convince this presence behind me that I didn't want to go back. I wanted to stay right here because I never felt more love. I'd never felt happier than I had in that moment. And I had a great life. You know, I was raised by a wonderful family. I was never abused. I was loved like you wouldn't believe. I mean, my family tells each other we love each other every single day. You know, there was never a second of my life that I did not know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was unconditionally loved and my family would do anything in the world for me. I had a great life. But that's how good that feeling was of love and happiness that I did not ever want to leave again. But I was also told I had to go. So it's kind of interesting to me that there are a lot of similarities here between her story and my story that I experienced. I didn't see any other people like she did. It was just me. I didn't go down a tunnel that I'm aware of, that I can remember. I just found myself floating in this light. But other than that, this story is very, very similar to what I experienced. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know down in the comments what you think of the article and what you think of near-death experiences in general. I can tell you that from experiencing it myself, it has to be more than just random firings of neurons in a brain. And it can't be that you almost died and then came back, that you didn't truly die, like the NHS is saying, because on my experience, I fell off a cliff into the water and hit my head on the way down. I was under the water for about 15 minutes before I came back up. There is no scientific reason why I should still be alive. I should have drowned and I should have absolutely not been able to come back. And I came back on my own. I just burst through the top of the water. But I know I was down there that long because I had friends with me. And they told me how long I was down there. and they were really panicked and freaked out and thought I was dead. So there's no reason why I should still be here. You just don't survive that. Okay, that's not, being underwater for that long is not possible to do that and live. So I died and I came back. So I can tell you that I'm not saying in every case, I'm not saying in this lady's case because I don't know this lady, but I'm saying in my case, it wasn't a near death experience. It was a death experience. It had to have been. How else do you explain it? So let me know down in the comments what you think about the whole situation. Have you ever had a near death experience or an after death experience? Have you ever seen the afterlife? If you're a paranormal investigator, what are your experiences with the afterlife? I'm sure you've communicated with ghosts. I'm sure you've seen ghosts, some of you. And what do you think of it? All those things will be very interesting to read. So, once again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate y'all's support. And I will see you on the next episode. Until I speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do I. Bye bye.